Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and this is my co-pilot, Little Zoria, and it is September 20th, YC126, and this is the Eve Universe Show! Our New Eden news for September 19th, YC126. Zarzakh report. Residents claim siege may break soon. Missives from Zarzakh. Reporting from inside Zarzakh has been limited, and news outlets associated with the four major nations of New Eden have been denied any direct access to the Deathless Circle. We understand that the current Drifter attack is of great concern to some of our readers, and as always, we endeavor to bring you the best possible coverage of events throughout the cluster. As such, when we receive a lead suggesting that the siege may end soon, we felt compelled to report on it. The Scope has recently received a communication with an independent journalist based inside Zarzakh who purports to have access to key members of the Deathless Circle. An investigation into this individual has revealed a spotty personal history, but no evidence of any past fraud or misrepresentation of facts. Therefore, we have decided to publish their communications here for your consideration. Disclaimer: the Scope cannot verify the veracity of this individual's account or events, and their opinions do not represent the opinions of Scope. We trust that our readers have the capacity to decide for themselves what is an appropriate degree of skepticism to apply to the following narrative. Report received from Hana Shikari. In the name of full disclosure, and in line with time-honored principles of journalistic integrity, I must begin with a confession that threatens to undermine the validity of the words which will come hereafter. I have been drinking. I was sat on the gangway of a prowler, wincing my way through the moonshine with a cabal of ne'er-do-wells keen to share tales of violence with any ear willing to receive it. I was in the midst of processing a particularly brutal tale when a more immediate incident caught our attention. Nearby, a Garissus pirate and dishonorable associate of the Angel Cartel had begun extracting the hemoglobin from one another by means of their fists. The associates of both parties rushed in, and what had become as an ill-tempered duel quickly escalated into a swarm of activity not dissimilar to a beehive on fire. Life within the belly of this great leviathan known as the Fulcrum is never peaceful. It is a vast landscape of empty expanses that haunt the mind, leaving behind both deadly silence and the indismissible itch of being watched. In the face of such existential terror, the people who live here have responded by filling their living spaces with neon distractions, and their bodies with illicit consumables. But now the sharks are biting at the gates. Those who prefer action must instead sit with their feelings. As fear circles in, there is little to do but brood and imbibe. Free of diversions, blood was inevitable. The specific denizens that had been assisting in giving my gray matter an acid bath prior to the distractions were the Hrada-Oki. They were members of a star-born civilization with a lower population than some moons. They came to be cutting their way through the great wildlands one ship at a time. I passed through those reaches myself in the company of some freshly minted smugglers, keen to make a name, but less keen on a star chart navigation. If it was not for 15 million of someone else's ISK and a comedy routine I stole from a Verokyor mystic with a drinking problem, I would have joined those young pups on the wrong side of an airlock. Yet the wildlanders who so deftly dealt with us would have shut the curtains and crawled under their beds at the mere mention of the Hrada-Oki. Malaya Hrada, the master of their cutthroat caravan and member of the Deathless Inner Circle, happened to be in the process of thrashing me for a 2 sum in the game of dice on that very gangway. As the ruckus expanded, so did her displeasure. She signaled to her clansmen, and together they descended to the bloody pit that was the rioting pirates. As she moved against them, Malaya's stormy countenance fell on the rabble like icy rain, and when she spoke, they listened. We are hunters, not animals. Animals thrash against their bars. Hunters wait for the perfect moment. You shame both your organizations with your petty rage. Out there, our enemy resolve wanes. Their forces deplete. Our allies have seen to that. I can tell you with confidence that we have but days until they are gone from our gates. I suspect Malaya's reputation did as much to still the crowd as her words, but either way, the tension was sucked out of the air and replaced with awkward embarrassment as the Hrada made their way back into the ship. I decided to follow along with them, partially out of a desire to win my credits back, and partially because I had always been fascinated by what the wind blows in the direction it does. Allow me to assure you that I am a creature of infinite sins, but sneakery is not counted among them. I had no intention of eavesdropping, but I suspect that the explosion of chaos had blinded the Hrada to the presence of this inconsequential storyteller. Nonetheless, the conversation I overheard between Malaya and one of her captains, Joven Hrada, has been transcribed here to the best of my recollection. If this siege is about to break, does it mean that he's found the thing? Joven was not an articulate man, but has successfully managed to retain all of his limbs and eyes despite the profession, and I believe that to be commended. It means that the Capsuleers have broken it for us, Malaya responded, and once the drifters cannot deploy their engines anymore, the interference on whatever impossible centers this insane place uses should be cleared. Then we get a fancy weapon to finish the job? War isn't about weapons. It's about understanding and opportunities. That's what he'll bring to us. I turned about and left the crowd at that, determining to find something of less significance to engage with. This cryptic exchange passed over my head like a titan in orbit. My life's path has revealed a series of truths I can best describe as a cascading miasma of confusion, but it occurred to me that those whose journeys had been obfuscated by facts may find some value in it that I do not. Should I happen to stumble across any other matters of similar interest, I hope to survive long enough to share my bewilderment around those too. So that's it. That is the New Eden news for September 19th, YC126. This is an interesting one. Because, like, there's kind of three layers to this story, right? You've got the first section, which is the scope news bringing you the story. And then with that story is that they've received a report from a quote-unquote journalist inside of Zarzakh. So then you've got her report, Hannah Shikari. But then past that, you have the discussion between the head of the Hrada caravan and her captain, Joven. And, like, you can tell that the writers here really had a lot of fun. You know, the artist or the writer, the in-universe writer, Hannah, is clearly trying to, like, win some sort of prize with her verbiage, saying things like extracting the hemoglobin from one another by means of their fists. You know, very try-hard writing. Anyway, but there is a couple of really interesting notes here. First of all, it does say that the siege is supposed to end, quote, within days. Now, this came out on Thursday. It's Friday. It's not over. So I'm just going to say it is quite, well, yeah, it is poetic, but that's my point, is that, like, you can, like, this is written by a character who fancies themselves a writer. Does that make sense? As opposed to a reporter, you know? It's more novelesque. So when do the deep flow rifts end again? They already ended a week ago, I think it was. It was shortly after the siege started that the deep flow rifts stopped. So my prediction, since Tuesday is a big day for patches and stuff, chances are I would be surprised if if the siege lasted past next Tuesday. So the siege rifts are currently ongoing. You can still do them. I know Dutch Gunner has been putting together some fleets to go do them successfully. They are pretty interesting. I don't know if I've talked about these. Did I? I think I did. Did I tell you guys about the different resonances? At this point, I don't remember whether or not I was sick and didn't talk about stuff or not. Somebody tell me whether or not I told you guys about the Horizon sites the other day. I think I did. Anyway, so if you're interested in that, of course, hit up Dutch Gunner either on the Arataka Research Consortium Discord or on the Convocation of Imperience Discord. Yeah, so there is another interesting thing, which is this idea that they're teasing, if the siege is about to break, does that mean he's found the thing? So we know that the Deathless has been trying to kind of unlock Zarzakh and the Fulcrum. That a very small portion, you wrote about some parts of the sites on the IGS. Yeah. Well, the point is that there are now 3 different resonance pieces. One of the resonance pieces seems to drop only in the nullsec sites. one resonance piece only drops in the low-sec site, and the third one, the electron one, which is the one that was also in the deep flow rifts, drop in both. And then at different phases throughout the site, you drop in the correct resonance to spawn the drifter officer. So it's one of those things, that, especially since the Zarzakh lockout makes it really difficult to transport something from the null-sec sites to the low-sec sites. There's going to, like, if null-sec runners and low-sec runners both go to Zarzakh, they can trade there. But it takes 6 hours to go from a null-sec site to a low-sec site by a single individual. So you don't need all three in order to access the site and get cool stuff, but in order to get all three chances at officers, you do need all three pieces. So then we get a fancy weapon to finish the job. I don't know what this means, but she does push back that war isn't about weapons, it's about understanding and opportunities. That's what it'll bring to us. They're kind of hinting that the Deathless is promised a solution, but it may be that the riffraff are kind of confused as to what the solution is. You know, like from a line member's point of view, or even a captain's point of view, it's like, oh, well, we need a new weapon. That makes sense. Stop. Hold on. They're doing this on purpose, I'm sure. So what does this mean? I mean, like, obviously there's pretty likely that there's something coming with all of this, but I don't think we've gotten anything that would be a hint as to what it is that we're dealing with here. I will say that with the Horizon Siege ending, those officer mods will need a new source to be able to come from. Pirates are going actively war with empires. Well, the pirates more want to just disrupt the Empire's command more than, like, beat the empires at their own game. But I know the Angels definitely want to undermine the Mimitar, for sure. But yeah, I think that this is mostly suggesting that there will be a, the siege is ending on Tuesday, and there is likely a new thing coming on Tuesday as well. But it's hard to say what that would be. Hey, Stoic. Lately, they've been ending events on Thursday unless there's a major patch to be deployed on Tuesday. Yeah, you're right. And it honestly, Nosy, that's not... that's actually been going on since about 2019, 2020. One of the things that they would do quite often is that they would patch it on Tuesday, but then the event would start on Thursday. So Thursday is an accurate... it would be a fair guess, too. But given the fact that they end things often by patching, I'm going to guess Tuesday, just because that's the shorter of the two, and they said within days. But yeah, Nosy Gamer, by the way, if you haven't checked out his stuff, Nosy Gamer does some really great analysis, both of, like, EVE systems, but mostly on, like, the financials of things, like the real-life company side of things, which is very interesting. Hey, Jacob. Capital component rework. Maybe. Oh, yeah, we already got that, didn't we? Hope Sancho, Serpentis, and Blood Raiders join the fray. I think that Serpentis joining the fray would make a lot of sense. And there was this major patch this Wednesday. It's ticking me off. I like a set schedule. I agree, Noisy. It's weird, but yikes. Okay, so that is about it for this New Eden news. It is a very interesting writing. It makes me wonder, because I know that CCP has gotten some new writers in, and this feels like it's written in a different style than other previous writings, but we'll have to keep an eye on this to see where this is going. Obviously, all of this is leading to the expansion that should be coming out in about a month and a half or so, or 2 months. So keep that in mind. Also, the Crimson Harvest will start in probably about 2 or 3 weeks, and the Crimson Harvest is already kind of slated to be related to Turner, Egmar, and Vard. At least, like, so what happened was the Crimson Harvest, the last time when CCP, they created all of these annual events, and then one year they tied each of the events to something that was happening in the story, right? So, like, The Easter event became the fact that what's her name, the Garissus chick had to flee, and so there's Operation Omelet or whatever. So they all escaped via a bunch of pods, and that was kind of the justification for the Easter event. Likewise, the Angel event involved the seizing of the compression technology from ore. But the Blood Raider one, the Crimson Harvest, have S3 Hakazotsu. Thank you, Satonia. The Blood Raider one took place during the Stellar Transmuter Crisis. So there was the 3 Stellar Transmuters, one in Egmar, one in Vard, and one in Turner. The Turner one blew up. But during that time, because they usually have, like, with these sorts of events, they have a tighter area that's got the better sites. In this case, they made it so that the better sites were in the constellations with those 3 systems. Now, since then, those events have been handed over to a different team, the marketing team, to kind of manage long term in maintenance mode. And that's in my theory is that that's why we don't have like the Easter event or the Angel event anymore, because those just simply do not make sense. But the Blood Raider one is still fine, and the fact that they happen to have harder sites in those particular areas, they can just kind of explain away. But in this case, with so much focus on Turner, etc., they could easily like stitch the what's going on with the Blood Raiders and the Crimson Harvest in with what's going on with Zarzakh. So I suspect that the Crimson Harvest could likely be like a step in this story, but we really are working towards the expansion. Blood Raider and Sancha faction warfare should be based around incursions. Allied players could help expand it. That'd be interesting, but the problem with that is anytime that they're trying to create a new system that relies on the old system, we have no idea how extensible the older system is and whether or not it's worth messing with versus doing something else. I think that the most obvious choice would be the Serpentis. I think that the Blood Raiders might even act against the Deathless, if anything. So, but that's it for this New Eden news and kind of speculation with where we're going with this Horizon Siege sites and everything. I guess I'll wrap this up for the YouTube edit. If you're watching this live, go ahead and hang tight. But otherwise, that's it for the New Eden news for September 19th, YC126. I've been Hrada-Oki, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space.